Welcome to the Social Blueprint, and this is Everybody Has a Story series. And I think you're going to be really intrigued and excited to hear who I'm talking to today. Really, it's not every day you get to meet somebody like Baci Hillyer, who does something that I think a lot of us don't understand, but understands really important. And she is a self-described death doula. Now, a lot of you wouldn't have heard that term. I certainly hadn't. And it takes a very special person to do that kind of work. I would imagine a lot of kindness and compassion and wisdom, as well as, I would imagine, patience to be with people at their most vulnerable and to help them through that situation. So let's get started. First of all, what is a death doula and how did you get into it?
Here in Australia, we really like to say end of life because really a death doula it's just really, focusing on the last breath, the death part, whereas end of life is really crosses 10 stages. So from living well all the way to where death happens, the last breath, and then there's all the after death care and ceremonies and bereavement. So end of life really covers a wide span. So an end of life doula is a non-medical role that covers all stages, And a lot of end of life doulas will do the continuity of care from the time that we're aging to disease, to life-limiting illness, and then to active dying. After death care, they will do the whole lot. And those doulas, I'm just like, wow, it's a lot. That's early death prep. And some, like myself, you are attracted to a certain part, and that for me is active dying. So that's why I spend a lot of time in palliative care. Volunteering.
And how did you get into this? Because I can't imagine it's something that you go to a career counsellor for and that comes up. How did it happen?
It's true. So most end-of-life doulas or people that work in end-of-life have a calling to it. And it's certainly not something that I was expecting. I've been doing all of these jobs all my life and things were happening, things were not happening, things were failing. And I was getting to my 40s going, what is my purpose? What am I supposed to do? I've got all of these skills and I know I'm meant to do something. And I landed in end of life through a series of circumstances that I won't go into because it's a Netflix series. But how I got my calling and then answering that calling when I finally landed in thinking, okay, I can work in death. I understand why I should because I can and I'm really comfortable in it and I have this wealth of experience around grief and trauma and I can actually help. When I finally got there, I thought, wow, I've landed in the right place. And since then, my world's just opened and everything has just happened as it should be. So I'm excited. I'm like thinking, wow, finally I'm able to work while everyone else is winding down and heading towards retirement. I'm kicking in.
Yeah.
This is like the kids have finished school. Now I'm ready to roll my sleeves up and get into this really important work, which I feel is, it's needed, especially in this around. Especially now.
Yes.
Australia, we have an ageing population.
Yes.
And the death rate is about to double by 2030 and it will double again in 2050. So it's, post-COVID, we've all experienced what happened in COVID.
Yes.
It's going to get really It's
going to ramp up.
It's going to ramp up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I was reading your bio and one of the things that intrigued me about you was you've actually converted to Judaism. And you did this before you were married, which is quite unusual. And also how that process and the Jewish community has been really integral to you and you living a great life and being who you are. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. Well, to explain that, I'll have to go way back. So death really shaped me and defined me at a young age. I was a teenager and we grew up in Canberra, family of 5, and for lots of reasons, work especially, mum and dad, moved to Melbourne. And it was a Jewish family that we were connected with. And so when we landed in Melbourne, it was in Kent Grove, Caulfield. And it was this very orthodox house, like the bedroom, the mum and dad's bed was separated. There was a full kosher kitchen. And of course, you know, around that time, Lenny's wasn't there. I think it was Bluestein's.
Yes.
Do you remember that?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So then there were all the Fummies walking around, and can you imagine me? I'm like a Canberra girl. And we had a farm in Canberra as well, 110 acres in snowy mountains. I was trout fishing. It was a beautiful childhood. And then next minute I'm in these Melbourne, you know, in the bagel belt.
Right in the heart of it, yes.
And my mother, for some reason, we were going to like Pesach and Shabbat with our Jewish family that Mum ended up working for and Dad as well. And my mother was like, I'm Jewish. Like, you know, she's Buddhist, which is a way of life. She's Vietnamese, French Vietnamese. Dad's Catholic. So I had a Catholic upbringing, Buddhism, flavour, and also went to Church of England Girls Grammar School. So I was, you know,
bit of everything, really.
And yeah, it was confusing. So then it was even more confusing because Mum decides I'm converting to Judaism, and we all thought she was absolutely mad. And she, you know, so she did 2 years with Liberal, and then she did 2 more years Orthodox. So that was amazing. So all of a sudden the kosher kitchen got put into use in Kent Grove, Caulfield. But fast forward, Dad, so I was about 11 when that happened, and at 14, Dad was diagnosed with brain cancer. And it was incredibly devastating. We were very close, my father and I. And it happened whilst, you know, we got to say goodbye to Dad. It happened very quickly because he had emergency surgery to remove the tumours, and they didn't get rid of all of them, which is why he died 6 months later. But the emergency operation happened very quickly. And so for me, he died that day when he went into the operation. So that was really fast. But I do remember saying goodbye to him, not really, but through eyes and through heart and through just a knowing that he possibly wasn't going to come out of that the same, and he didn't. So I lost him very early. And then 6 months I was just watching that torturous, you know, decline. It was horrific, chemo, and not being the same person. And he died 6 months later, but he died in March the next year. So, I mean, it was September that we found the tumour. He died by March. My sister decided to get married in February to her partner. He was Jewish. And so Dad could see one of his kids get married, and she was in year 12 at the time. Yeah, and my sister was like super smart. I think she was like pretty much heading to Ducks that year level. And her year was just ruined. But she got married. So she left the family home in February. Dad died in March. And then tragically, Dad wanted his ashes spread over the farm. So that's a long story.
Keep going. No. It's an important story.
My brother, they went to, just to rewind, we went to Bali in July. Sorry, so
before the diagnosis?
After my dad died, my mum and my brother and I went to Bali, and I met a whole lot of Jewish kids from Scopus.
They were everywhere at that point in your life.
It was Bali, it was Club Med Sol. I mean, go back, rewind, Bali, and it was just this fabulous family, you know, vibe that I was really loving. And I'd already had a lot of Jewish friends. I went to Wesley. So I was just really immersed in Judaism, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It was like, still to this day, if there's any religion that I resonate with, it's Judaism, because of the family structure and and the traditions. It's just so beautiful. So I was very attracted to it because, you know, I was losing my family. So little did I know what was to come. That my brother, after spreading the ashes over the farm on the drive home, was killed in a horrific car accident. So
that's a lot in a short time.
Yeah, in 5 months.
A lot.
Dad died and my brother died. And then, of course, there's the existential death of my mother. You know, she clearly didn't die, but a part of her died, and her ability to mother me and my sister died. But again, my sister was married, so it was really just me. So I lost my sister as well to marriage, and she'd left the family home. So really within a matter of, it's a very short amount of time, 8 months, my family died.
Completely different.
Yeah, there was just me.
Yes.
And look, it went on and went on. And my mother and I are very close now, but at that time she left for a year. So I spent the whole next year, my year 11 at school, by myself with random people, like a Czechoslovakian housemaid that used to work for my stepfather. And my stepfather, at the time he wasn't, but he became my stepfather, was a Holocaust survivor. So, but really, in answer to your question about Judaism, for me, it was the Jewish community that really saved me. A lot of people turn to spirituality, and I did, but it was firstly via Judaism. Later, I had a different spiritual awakening and studied shamanism and did a lot of energy work. And, right now, for me, really, my religion is humanity. It's being human above and beyond. But back then, I was going to Shabbat dinners. It was all my Jewish friends that picked me up and collected me and made sure that I...
Brought their arms around you, really, and took you in.
Nourishing, nurturing,
Yes.
and the fathers and the mothers, everyone in those families were my life source.
Wow.
Yeah, so choosing to convert to Judaism was easy.
Yeah.
And it wasn't for marriage, it was to be a part of the community.
Yeah. To align with everything you were
To
feeling.
align with everything that I believed in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which
And was
brings
grateful for.
It brings me to my next question. And with your background as well, I think you're going to have an interesting perspective. You've obviously assisted people and families through that period of time, which is a very vulnerable and sensitive time for many, many people. Have you noticed common themes that come through based on people's cultural backgrounds, religion, stage of life? There must have been a lot of conversations you've been privy to over the years. What have you learned through that process? Like, what are some of the common themes? Are they regrets, secrets, fears, or loves, or what comes through?
It's a big question because there's a lot.
Yeah.
So I could just narrow it down to, well, let's talk about regrets. There's always regret. I think fundamentally forgiveness is big amongst all of the regrets. You could talk about working too hard, not spending enough time with family, but forgiveness of oneself, I think, at the very end of life.
Yeah.
For the mistakes that you made, or all of those regrets, like not spending enough time with family, not staying in touch with friends, not living true to myself. There has to be an element of a forgiveness of you before you leave.
Yes.
So that is big. Forgiveness of someone else or asking to be forgiven. So I think forgiveness is really big in whatever form it arises. Culturally, I would say... religions play a really big part. Ritual is fundamental to... I don't think there's any atheist... There's no atheist in a foxhole. So coming back from World War I, it's big. When you're there and when you're dying, some form of spiritual belief or your religion becomes front and centre. And I feel that when you have religion to hold on to, it really does help people. I feel that those people that don't have that do struggle, and they somehow grasp for something, or if they're really, really strong within themselves and their own spiritual sense, or into nature, or then they'll hold on to earth medicine. So, and Buddhism comes in. People like at the last minute want to meditate, and they've never meditated all their lives. There's a lot of grasping onto something meaningful, something to make meaningful, or a rejection. There is no God. If there was a God, why would this be happening?
Yes.
An anger. It's
interesting.
It's so fascinating.
Yes.
I think in terms of ritual around after death care, I think that when you've got, like Judaism specifically, when the Chevra Kadisha come in and they take over, it's such a relief. And I've been in hospital wards where people are like, oh, who do we call? What do we do now?
Yes.
Did they want to be cremated? Did they want to be, or the loved one ends up caught in a funeral home where a celebrant comes in who doesn't even know them, talks about them, or they're ending up with some kind of religious, like a pastor or some sort of religious after death ceremony that didn't suit the person, that really didn't resonate with them at all, and they're in deep regret. So
yes.
Yeah. Does that, I mean, gosh, I could talk about this forever. There's so many stories, but I think, forgiveness, the need for family to be around, I think.
To feel love?
Yeah, loneliness. I do feel that people die as they lived. So if you're particularly like an extrovert, you sort of do like people around, you like music, you like sort of activity in your room. If you're quite the introvert, you don't want that.
Quiet.
Yeah. And I also feel that, I mean, this is an interesting stat, that most people die between 3 and 5 in the morning, that really quiet time. And I do know that a lot of people get very stuck on needing to be there at the very end and not wanting to miss it. And it often happens where someone's gone to the toilet or they've gone home to pick up something and the person dies. And there's a lot of stress around that. But I believe, what I see, that person didn't want to die while their loved ones were around, that they could feel the stress or someone, or the opposite, someone's in there saying go, 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 and they're not going. It's like, I'm not leaving. There was one particular man that, I tell you what, as I got to know the family as he was dying, he took like 3 weeks to die. No water, no nothing. And the palliative care nurses will tell you, and doctors will say, tell you what, it doesn't matter how many times someone will say they've got 2 days to live, they've got 3 days. The person, it really ends up being in charge of themselves.
So it's their decision.
Absolutely.
You hear that a bit when people they have loved ones overseas and they hang on. They seem to hang on and wait until that person comes back and can be there, and they can say the goodbye or feel the love or something. So you've seen this?
Yes, they will go on their terms, and it won't matter what the doctor says. And some people will survive way past the time that they're meant to, and it's fascinating.
Yes.
But you will often find, after investigating a bit, Dad, he rode to work every day, rain, hail or shine, like really tough, individual, mind and body and soul and strength, just hanging on and wanting to hang on. The Holocaust survivors find it really difficult to die, really difficult to die, because they've innate in them is survival, and that letting go is really hard.
Yes.
Yeah, whereas somebody who's surrendering and able to let go, they have this peaceful death. And the people that die in their sleep, not really surprised that they were able to do that. So it's fascinating, isn't it?
I think one of the things that you said, which hopefully reassures a lot of people, is people do feel this pressure to be there at the end, and this guilt if they missed it, or they weren't there, or they'd walked out, or they'd gone home for the night. And what you're saying is that's okay.
I think we need to even do better than that, is to fix it upstream. We need to start talking about this now. So I had my ex-husband's, my mother-outlaw, I was doing her death prep yesterday, and I had her recorded to say, listen, I know that you're introverted by nature and you're not really going to want a whole lot of people around when you die. If you don't have a sudden and unexpected death and you do die, in your preferred way, that you probably want to write it down or say it, so we can even record it, because we were recording her death prep, to say to your children now, it's okay if you're not there. I'm okay with you not being there.
And it gives them permission, so there's no guilt and
How
no anger.
amazing.
Yes.
And we've got it now recorded.
Gee. Well, this is interesting, death prep. We need to talk about this because people don't like to talk about, the joke, 2 things in life, death and taxes. We talk about taxes. Yeah. We don't talk about death.
Yeah.
And I find it interesting, these little code words. I'll tell you a quick funny story. When I was younger, and we used to have Pesach at my grandparents' place. They were Polish Holocaust survivors, and they had a number of their friends there. And I might have been 10 or 11, and one year one of them wasn't there, one of their friends wasn't there. And I asked my grandmother, where's Mr. Cohen? And my grandmother said, he's not here this year because he's very, 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 very sick. And I leaned over to my mum. I'd never heard this, and I said,
able to say it.
And I said to my mum, "Where is Mr. Cohen? He's dead." You know. So in our family, 5 varies. You're out. You're not there anymore.
Very, very, very.
There's 5 of them.
Yeah.
So why is it that people find it so uncomfortable, and why is it important to prepare?
Gosh, it's a good question. Lots of different answers. Not spoken about it. I think as a child, we spoke about death a lot because of my father. A lot of country people do because of animals and nature.
See the cycle.
Yeah. The generation, the baby boomers, were really bad at it. Really bad at it. Everything was swept under the carpet, and they're very stoic, and there's not a lot of conversation. So really, let's rewind back to history. So over 100 years ago, we were doing this a lot better. And then at the turn of the century, we outsourced death and we medicalised it. And I think we lost a lot of connection in the Western world, especially because the Eastern and Indigenous cultures have it. They've retained that connection, whereas we haven't. We've outsourced it, and it was easy to outsource it. Let's get that clear. It's so easy. Outsourcing the cleaning and then having to bring your cleaning back into the house. Outsourcing death, it's like, phew.
Yeah,
the
relief.
Nurses, the doctors, they can all take care of it, put them in the hospital. But it used to be at home, and death is a core human event. It's not a medical event. Thank goodness, thank God for modern medicine, amazing. But we disconnected, and it's understandable, and became death phobic. We just outsourced it, didn't really have much to do with it. It's left the home. It's now in the hospital, and it's been happening like that for quite some time. So
it's interesting as you talk about that. It also reminds me of that other time in life which is just so magical and hard to explain, birth.
Yeah.
Where birthing was at home, birthing has become medicalised in a lot of ways. And again, thank goodness for modern medicine and all the things it can bring. But there is this difference, this disconnect with family at that point of time. It sounds similar. The entry and the exit points.
Yeah, they're both the same. And there's of course birth doulas as well. Everyone's heard of a birth doula.
Yeah.
Bring on end of life. It's like, doula, end of life. No one wants to talk about the end of life doula. And also end of life is nicer than death. Death doula. Look, you've got to try and soften it.
Yes.
I almost don't like the word doula it's Greek and it means to serve. I sort of really don't like the word doula, but we're sticking with it. End of life doer, end of life carer. The end of the day, we're all going to have to be an end of life doula. We were having a chat before, and you've had to help, organise, be by the side steward,
be present.
Be present, accompany, show up for 4 deaths in your family. Yeah, so...
Yes, and this brings me to, I know you've got a podcast, Live Well, Leave Well. I think it's a great name.
Thank you.
What does leave well look like? Because as you say, I know I personally have been present for 4 deaths in the family, and each one of them has been very different. One was an emergency, the other 3 were actually a little bit more controlled and actually quite beautiful in their own way, which sounds weird, I think, to a lot of people. But what does it mean?
Is it weird? Death is a rite, it's a sacred rite of passage, right? It should be beautiful. Beautiful in the sense that we are saying goodbye to somebody and that rite of passage and showing up for them and being present and making sure that their death is a sacred rite of passage is a beautiful thing. The actual sadness, of course, it's devastating because we're humans. We come in and we make connections and we don't want to say goodbye to those connections, and we're really going to miss those people. It's always the worst for the people left behind. Of course, the traveller, the person who's died, they've gone. So it's not really bad for them. But to show up for their death, to make sure that it's the kindest, pain-free, whatever it looks for them. So that's what leaving well. So living well, we're all, let's not talk about that. Everyone's obsessed with it. Look at the, the multi-billion-dollar industry on living well and biohacking and living longer and aging well and your green smoothies and your running and your exercise. Everyone's obsessed with it. But nobody's really investing enough time in leaving well. And leaving well, when you invest time into how you leave, it changes everything. It changes you as a person. It changes your relationship with yourself. It changes your relationship with death. It changes your relationships with your loved ones and your friends and how you interact in life. Changes everything.
It's interesting.
Because you start to lean into death preparation through conversations. They ignite everything. Hey, let's talk about what living well means for you. How does that look? And how does an ideal death look for you?
Yes.
And once you start answering those questions,
it opens up a lot of conversations.
Oh, absolutely.
And
your
care
values.
and emotions.
Yeah, you start to think about, what do I care about? And then you think, you know what, this would be my ideal death. And then you want to, it just starts to conversations open up everything, right? And then the conversations leads to preparation. So you go, okay, well, now I've had the conversations. And people who are scared about them, but they could just be over a cup of tea, just here. They could happen after a funeral. I always think that's a vulnerable time for you to open up after a funeral.
And I think also when people are at a funeral, it does get them thinking more about their mortality and how would they like that experience to be when it's their time.
Yeah.
It is that time, isn't it? A reflection.
What's your legacy?
Well.
Yeah. How do you want to be remembered? And I always say that it's not what you leave behind for people. It's your legacy is what you leave behind in people, how they feel.
That's beautiful.
And saying that now and talking about that now, as opposed to someone guessing about how you would like to be remembered, it's just beautiful. There's so many amazing moments that can happen and connections when you lean into death and dying, because it's going to happen. 10 out of 10 of us are going to die.
Yeah.
We all have fear around it, and I'm not saying that will change. We will all be scared. I'm scared. I don't want to die. Now I've got so much to do. Plus I've got everybody else's death prep that I've got to sort out and organise, and I'm like the medical power of attorney for about 20 people. I can't die.
Yes.
But I'm going to, and I don't want to, and I want to meet my grandchildren, and if they come, I don't know what's going to happen, but I want to travel and I want to see the rest of the world. I don't want to die. I'm scared, but I'm prepared.
Well, I think what you're saying is that it doesn't mean you've given up. It doesn't mean you're pessimistic. It actually means that you want to have some kind of, not only control, but it sounds like it needs to be a sensitive time for everyone, like you say, the people that are left behind as well. This is actually really interesting because you would have seen you've obviously been involved with a lot of people's preparation as well as that actual moment when people pass on. Can you give us some examples of some things that people have done in the leaving well that really stood out for you?
Oh, look, anytime someone's prepared to leave well, it changes everything. There's a sense of, what's the word? I'm trying to find the word. Here's my menopause brain coming in. It always happens. Had to happen, didn't it? There's a resolve. That's the word that I'm looking for. There's more resolution around it because conversations have happened. Everybody knows that mum or dad this is how they've wanted it. They've preferred that they want to die at home, and they've done everything to die at home. But if they can't, there's been a conversation that says, okay, I'm very happy to die in palliative care now. They've done all their legacy documents. Families have handed me a book. This is mum and dad's love story. This is the life. This is what we did. And I've read it by the bedside.
Wow.
The family have all come in. Blankets have been made with photos on the blankets. The whole room is set up like home with all the things that mum wanted. It's just beautiful, as opposed to going into a room where nobody's had a conversation. Everyone's sitting around. There's the tension air in the room is palpable. It's, yeah, you know, I think at the end of the day, there is no control at the end of life, because it's the end of life, and no one knows what's going to happen. The person who's dying is dying. How it looks, active dying looks, is not where that person is. We don't know what's happening. But why don't we take charge and control the things that we can control? And when you do that, it really does help. It lessens the impact of the aftermath of death and dying. When all the practical things have been taken care of, your advanced care directives, so you know the wishes of the dying person, the will is in order, the conversations, the emotional will, the physical care, everything's been talked
Sorted.
about.
Yes.
And even if it's not completely sorted, it's been talked about.
Yes.
And then someone said, oh, I'll leave it up to you. You decide. Like me, I'm not even sure about how I want to be buried yet.
Yes.
There's a couple of options. So it's in the air. So you decide. It's a work in progress.
Yes.
You know, if there's a staircase, you don't have to go the whole staircase. You just have to take some steps in each quadrant, you know, physically, spiritually, emotionally, mentally.
Yes.
How do you want it to be? And it can change.
Yes.
Yeah, but at least it's a work in progress. At least at that time, one conversation that you have, like, you don't have to be there for my death, can ripple. That's going to be the gift that keeps on giving long after you've gone, that allows that person to feel okay about it. You know, darling, it's okay, I want to die at home, but if I end up in hospital for whatever reason, don't worry about it.
It's really interesting the way you talk about it. It's like a birth plan.
Yeah.
I'd rather not have an epidural, but if I need one, it's okay. And I'd imagine it takes
all
a lot
it is.
It takes tension out. There's no fighting amongst family members. It's really clear who's taking direction, and also that everyone's aligned. Look, we could talk about this for a long time.
But just quickly with the family members, you can have an intention, you know, everything goes balagan. It's mental. Yeah. The family go crazy. That's just
stress,
the truth,
the
right?
fear, yes.
But if the person who's dying sets the intention down, my wish is for you, I don't want any arguing. This is what I want. I don't want my children to be arguing about what they think. That's why it's best for the person to be accountable for their death. If you're accountable for your death, I'm accountable for mine. This is how it looks, is how I want it to be. It lessens all of the potential for all of those unnecessary emotional arguments that will happen, because everyone can say, well, this is what we spoke about. And it's gold.
That's huge.
It's gold.
Yes.
It's a gift.
Yes.
Death preparation is the gift, the greatest gift of love that you can offer the ones you leave behind. And it will be the gift that keeps on giving long after you've gone.
That is beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think I've ever talked as much about this topic, but it's been, honestly, you have so much life, so much experience, and so much compassion. It really comes through. We've learned a lot of practical things as well, but before we finish up, I know there's a lot of people who want to learn more, understand more about, you know, what you do, what people do like you, how to get in touch, as well as just learn more about the things that you were talking about, how you might want to prepare. First of all, you've got your podcast.
Yes, listen to my podcast.
Yes, so
I've got so many interesting guests. I've got a lineup. I've got 10 series. My first series is 10, and it's about there's no experts in death. But there are a lot of experts in death. But it's really about experiential knowledge and, of course, expert knowledge, doctors and palliative care nurses. Deep respect. I've got a great series coming up. Then the next one will be about community. So how we learn, I believe, is obviously go to my resources page. We'll put something on social.
We'll have a link down the bottom.
If you want to be an end-of-life doula, you know, come. The more the merrier. You're doing it anyway, so you might as well get skilled up on it. To do it within the community, and like I said, you can specialise in certain areas around the whole of the end of life and the stages of death and dying. But learn from each other. Talk to each other more. Talk to everyone. Everyone's got a story. Everyone has a really bad aftermath story, like a really bad story. Only 50% of Australians have wills. Get your will in order. Get your advanced care directives. Have conversations about the generation, sandwich generation, which is Gen X, and we're looking after our elderly parents and our kids. we need to support each other more. So anyone who's just been through MyGov or the hell of the hospital system sometimes, getting appointments, share tips and tricks. That's what I say. Just as you would share a Netflix series or, you know, a recipe or, you know, this Pilates studio or a recipe on a great smoothie. How about a tip and a trick that's going to be really practical to help you with your aging parent? You know,
You're right.
for comfort and care and a more compassionate journey. Share, talk to each other, write things down. You know, when you're traveling, go, oh, go to this restaurant or whatever. How about, you know, writing those tips down? Listen, talk to this person. Here's someone that you need. You know, clearing out rooms after someone's died. You know,
where do you go?
Where do you go?
What do you do with everything?
Get those people in.
No, that'd be great tips.
Roles. Give people roles.
That's
to talk
great.
about. Yeah.
So with your podcast, Live Well, Leave Well, I love it. And where are people going to be able to find that?
So they'll be able to find it on my link from my website and my socials.
Great.
Yeah.
Look, we could obviously keep talking about this, and isn't that
Forever.
amazing to think we could keep talking about death and planning for death? Who would have thought? But it's very important. You've given us some great tips and great insights, and what you do is really important, meaningful and special. You can see it, and I'm sure there's a lot of need for more people to do what you do to help them.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
We all need to, we're all in this together.
Thank you again. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Oh, thank you for having me.
You've been listening to The Social Blueprint. This is the Everybody Has a Story series. If this has helped you or you found it interesting or you know someone who really needs to listen to this, please pass it on. And also you can go to our website and we've got over 100 other video interviews for you to go and have a look at. Thanks.